A lot of editing. Hello, world. You're watching 80s Music Twin Ranked. I'm Joel. This is Chris. And the reason it's called 80s Music Twin Ranked is because obviously if you look at us, do we look alike? We're twins. We're ranking 80s music. This would be our third one. For our first one, we did Huey Lewis and the News. Our second one was Phil Collins, and today we're doing Billy Joel. And the reason we're doing 80s music is because we grew up in that decade, and at least I believe, I imagine Chris believes this too, is that 80s music was the best decade of music.
Right. Not to say there's not good music out there, but in general.
In general. You go to get into the 90s, it doesn't all go away. Obviously, some of the 80s artists still were making music in the 90s.
And not to say you can't find any bad music in the 80s, too.
You can find good music today, but by and large, most of it stinks. But there's
our opinion.
A few artists that are good out there. I like Dua Lipa. She has a lot of instruments behind her. The Weeknd does have some pretty good stuff that's you can rock to. Who else is out there? See, that's why I don't know. Who's else out there?
Name 10 people.
Yeah, there's hundreds of, well, at least 100 bands from the 80s that we can do top 10 lists for, and those songs were really good. And then not to mention all the one-hit artists that, you know, they put out one song really good, really catchy, still play them on the radio today, even though they didn't have any more hits, but they were still memorable songs. So today we're doing Billy Joel. Just a recap, I know we're only 3 into it, but a recap is when we did Huey Lewis, we picked off of 26 songs to rank our top 10, and we came up with The Power of Love as both of our number one song. Huey Lewis had 3 number one hits and 10 studio albums, I believe. Got moved on to Phil Collins. He had 8 studio albums. Now, mention just the studio albums. Some they had greatest hits, obviously,
and live
albums, and soundtracks. Phil Collins had 8 studio albums.
Yeah, you know, Huey Lewis he did songs from Back to the Future movie. Right. And then we said last week Phil Collins had 5. Billy Joel has a couple.
He does. He
did the voice. He was an actor. He did a voiceover for a character in Disney's Oliver and Company, and he did a couple songs there.
If you did watch that movie, Oliver and Company, he voiced a character called Dodger. He would have been the streetwise dog that Oliver meets, I guess.
Yeah, well, it's a take on Oliver's Twist with pets or dogs.
Probably didn't know that when I was watching.
And also, I thought that was the only movie he's ever done, but he did Easy Money, which, you know...
He was in Easy Money?
No, he did the song Easy Money, which was the title song
which
for
technically,
the movie of Rodney
we
Dangerous.
get that not from a soundtrack, but from An Innocent Man.
Right.
Okay, so go back. 26 songs we used to rank Huey Lewis. When it came to Phil Collins, there were 30 songs we picked from. Our top song was I Don't Care Anymore, even though it wasn't both of our number ones. Yours was In the Air Tonight, and mine was Sussudio. Sussudio ended up being number 3 because you ranked it lower than that. Interestingly, today, Billy Joel, we both had a number 1. Neither one of our number ones made our top 10 list.
Oh, really?
I don't know if that'll happen again, probably. But we had to choose off of 45 songs for Billy Joel because he's got a lot of songs. So if you look behind us, this is only about half of what he did.
He had 13 studio albums.
He started back in 1971, and Chris said, he had 13 studio albums, and then he had multiple greatest hits albums.
Yeah.
I don't know how many of the songs were ranked overall, but there were a lot. Now, Phil Collins had 7 number 1 hits. And like Huey Lewis, Billy Joel only had 3 number 1 hits. And the first one didn't come until 1980, the decade where he really came on. Even though he had hits before that.
You asked me, I think you asked me last week, what was the first time I really remember Billy Joel? And I think it was from his video Pressure.
You know what? That's exactly what I was thinking too.
I don't really recall him until then. So.
And imagine a song. becoming a huge hit, and he referenced Sesame Street. Who would do that?
Of course, and I've heard two versions of Pressure. I've heard a longer version because I'm like, I'll listen to one. I'm like, wait a minute, you missed that part,
right? Where he referenced Time Magazine as well as Sesame Street, something like that. I think that might be the first time I remember hearing him too.
Yeah, when we grew up, we also watched a show called Bosom Buddies, and the theme song they used for that was a Billy Joel song called My Life. Even though if you go to the show, if you watch the show, it's not Billy Joel singing, somebody else did a cover of it.
Yeah, it is Billy Joel's song, and if you don't know what Bosom Buddies was, that's the TV show. Tom Hanks got really popular doing comedy before he actually was in movies. That was his TV show.
Yeah.
Okay, so of the 13 studio albums, he has 8 that had at least 2 hits on it. Throw in his first greatest hits, and you've got 9 albums with at least 2 hits on it from the top 40. And the greatest hits, number 1 and 2, it's not on this year because we had to divide it into 2 charts. But the greatest hits 1 and 2
that's his
best-selling album of all time. Right. So it's top 25 from any artist. For Billy Joel's studio albums, I believe it's Stranger still, which
says it has 5 hits, but the +1 is because it also has a song "Scenes from an Italian Restaurant,"
which he considers one of his best. And I've seen it in concert when he did.
Yeah, so and it wasn't actually released as a single.
No, but I think I've heard it on the radio just because of how popular it is. And I think, if I were to remember recalling, none of the Stranger songs made it on our top 10.
And I was just reading about this today, but he was with Columbia after he did Turnstiles. They were gonna, if he didn't have, if he only had a couple hits like Turnstile,
right?
They were gonna drop him. But then he had put Stranger out as his best-selling album. I think it surpassed Columbia's best-selling album. So of course they didn't drop him.
Right. What else? So Huey Lewis. Go back and recap. Huey Lewis. We on our top combined. What we're doing is combining our top 10s, getting the average, and that's how we get our twin rank top 10. It's not necessarily his top 10. It's not mine. But when you combine our rankings, this is a top 10. We had ended up with 6 or 5. Maybe 5 songs from sports. No, 4. 4 songs from sports. And
so now you said earlier, you said your top song for Billy Joel is not in our top 10?
Neither is yours.
And mine is neither. So since we're not going to mention them, what is your top song of Billy Joel that's not in our top 10?
And I can understand, with as many hits as Billy Joel has, I can understand somebody having a favorite and it not being on the top 10 just because there's so much to choose from. Mine is Modern Woman, and you mentioned movies. That's one of his songs from the movie.
He did. I forgot. Yeah,
and I like movie songs. When the song is really good from a really good movie, doesn't necessarily have to be a good movie, but that makes the song even better, is from Ruthless People, which is a really funny movie directed by one of the guys that does the Airplane Naked Gun series, that kind of comedy.
Zuckerberg.
So yeah, Ann Abrams. And so that my top song is Modern Woman. And right. I like that song to play with the drums. It's got the fast beat, that's why I like it. And it actually sounds similar to my number 2 song. If I thought about it, I was listening, I'm like, yeah, same speed, kind of different. My second number 2 song is I Go to Extremes. Both of those songs you ranked low. I'm like, what? So Chris is.
Mine was Piano Man
because it's
iconic.
just like what?
Every time it comes on though, I know all the words. I can sing it without even playing in the background. Some songs you're like, I don't know how it goes until you hear the music. Now I can sing that song.
And you mentioned to me last week that you said you've heard a shortened version.
Yeah,
where they
I hate that. I hate when people do that.
And I've heard shortened versions of 80s songs too. An REO Speedwagon song, the first one for them that went to number 1, I believe. I Can't Fight This Feeling. And they chop off the entire backside after the guitar solo. Why they do that, I don't know. But so yeah,
they gotta put more
Piano
ads
Man
in there to make revenue.
and what sways me a little bit is you got all these hits. and they never play on the radio. So when I hear something that's not on the radio, you hear something over and over on the radio, and you're like, okay, quit playing that anymore. That would be Piano Man to me. I hear it all the time.
What song do they not play on the radio you'd like to, if it was on the radio, you'd like to turn
Oh yeah,
on?
I mentioned this last week. I'd like to hear Sometimes a Fantasy. That's, the two popular songs from, which one was it? Glass Houses is on our top 10. Sometimes a Fantasy and Honesty, but Honesty, again, I rank faster songs higher than slower songs. So Honesty didn't make the list, but Sometimes a Fantasy, it even starts with a phone ringing.
I think
Whether that ruins it or not.
I think I told you a song last week, but I'm changing my mind. I think I'd like to hear Easy Money. I barely hear that on the
Easy
radio.
Money was that? Do you remember that being on the radio?
I think I heard it. Yeah, I don't know if it was a hit, but I think I heard it every now and then.
Okay. Yeah. So, and that's a movie song.
Yeah.
I don't know. Does he have another movie
Oh yeah.
song?
Well, Why Should I Worry? It was from Oliver and Company. They could put that on the radio or not.
Was that a hit? I don't remember.
Don't know.
I don't remember. I honestly don't remember the movie, even though I've seen it. So, okay. So going down the list, he had Cold Spring Harbor, and you mentioned these weren't doing good, even though Piano Man
Yeah, Cold Spring Harbor had the song "She Got Away," but that didn't become a hit
until Down Here in Songs in the Attic, I
the
believe,
live,
which was after the album that had his first #1 hit.
All right, so the Piano Man time when this was released, he got married, and so he had a partner. He was together in a band called Attila. They didn't obviously have any hits, but his wife they got married to was his partner's wife. So that's how he. Yeah, should I not record that? Should I stop and start over?
No, you're fine. Hey,
Did I mention Billy Joel's an atheist?
yeah, that part actually is interesting. So,
Okay.
so listen. I had three cassettes of Billy Joel. I actually had 4,
I didn't know you had this.
but I had 52nd Street, The Stranger, and Glass Houses, and I also had River Dreams. But I made a trip
And
to.
I had Turnstiles and There's a Man, and we bought together the Greatest Hits Volume 1 and 2.
Yeah, and I had River of Dreams, and one of our friends and I drove to Illinois, and because I had car issues, I had to take it to a shop, and I remember days after taking it there, my little cassette with a holder with 10 cassettes in it was missing. I mean, somebody had stole it.
Stole it when you guys went to the beach.
River
Is that your story is?
Well, no, because I locked everything in there.
All right. So he got married during Piano Man, and his wife. He recorded 2 songs based on her. That was "She Got Away" and "She's Always a Woman to Me." He also based the part of the lyric in Piano Man where it says, "And the waitress is practicing politics." That was supposedly her. So.
Okay, so Stranger, his biggest album. Don't know if I consider that his best, but
I was surprised. I thought "An Innocent Man" for sure was.
what
his
is
best.
your what? Yeah, I would have assumed based on the amount of hits that were on that song that would have
Right.
been a top seller, but it's not. What's your favorite though? That doesn't.
favorite album?
Yes, of his.
And I'm not going to include greatest hits, obviously, because I had every hit from every album.
Right. You can say that about every artist.
yeah.
Don't ever buy a CD. Wait for their greatest hits. There's all the hits.
I like my favorite would be "Innocent Man."
Okay, Innocent Man. Mine
Yeah.
is not. Now, underrated, I'm going to say The Bridge. Obviously, my #1 song is Modern Woman comes from The Bridge, and none of the hits from The Bridge is on our top 10. Because he's got bigger hits, obviously, but all the way through, there's a lot of good hits on there, and they're not ranked. And,
Well, he did on The Bridge, which I had that album too. I had that cassette.
yes, you did. I remember.
He has "Modern Woman," which is from Worthless People. Is
Right.
"Matter of Trust" from Worthless People, or is that?
No, that's
That was just a single of his.
Yeah.
He played guitar on that, which
On
I
the
didn't even
video.
know he had a
Correct.
played
Yeah.
guitar
yeah.
until that video.
That was different. It, like he was changing styles. Now he's a guitar player instead of piano guy.
right.
But my favorite is The Bridge, which is interesting because you had told me that he fired his whole band. Well, he didn't fire his whole band.
Okay.
He kept 2 people. The drummer was one of the people he kept
Liberty Bee.
still on Stormfront, and that's my favorite album. As a matter of fact, another song that I had in my top 10 that you ranked really low, like I'm talking, how far down? 45. I said there were 45. You put this as last in my top 10. That's not her style. I didn't know that was a hit, but I look at the Wikipedia.
It was on the radio? I don't recall.
I don't remember.
I didn't remember it. That's why I put it at 45.
I remember
I'm like,
it.
I don't remember this song.
It had a video, but yeah, but listen to the song.
Stormfront, did that have Down Easter Alexa?
Yes.
And
That was
Alexa is his daughter that he had with Christy Brinkley. Because right before
Yeah, we're
1983 was The Innocent Man album, I believe.
Yes, and let's just
1982 he got
finish
divorced.
the history so I can change the board.
Right.
So Glass Houses when he has 3 hits, I think, or no, Glass Houses is 4 hits. I mentioned already mine. Sometimes in fantasy is one I want to hear. He had the live album. They had Nylon Curtain that had the 3 hits, and the one time we remember him first is with Pressure.
Pressure, Allentown, and Goodnight Saigon, which I like that song too.
It's kind of slow for me.
It's slow, but I know the lyrics.
So here's, I do like We All Go Down Together.
All right, so 1982 he got divorced, and I don't know if he had already met Christy Brinkley, but they got married.
I read he was actually dating Elle McPherson.
Okay.
And
Might
so
have.
maybe after, obviously, hopefully he was already divorced before he started seeing her. But he wrote Uptown Girl based on Elle McPherson. But then Christy Brinkley was the one that was in his video, and that's when he started dating her. And remember I said 1985 was the big year for music in the 80s. The greatest hits, the one that's in the top 25 all time, Billy Joel put that one out in 1985, and he got married to Christy Brinkley. So it was a big year for Billy Joel as well.
And his greatest hits also wasn't just greatest hits. He put 2 hits out
There were 2
that were new songs.
new songs, yeah. And then
You're Only Human and Night Is Still Young.
Night Is Still Young, which I like, but again, it's a slow song. 1986 was the bridge, the year after the underrated album. Then he did something in the Soviet Union. I'm not going to pronounce that. How do you say
It's
that?
Russian. It means concert.
Oh, okay. And then my favorite album is Stormfront. I had River of Dreams, but River of Dreams is the first time I heard he was an atheist. And I'll tell you what, even after having all those albums, I even bought River of Dreams, my opinion changed about Billy Joel, which is probably why I don't have him. I have him ranked number 10 artist-wise. You have him ranked number 1. But yeah, I dropped him because I heard him. Now, interestingly, we're going to do Rush in a few weeks. Neil Peart, our favorite drummer, same thing. I heard about him being an atheist. And him, I've seen them in concert 3 times. I probably should tell this on the Rush. You could look in his face and tell he was not a happy guy when he was playing. His countenance just looked like he was bad.
Well,
anyway, back to Billy Joel. Maybe you want to edit that because it has nothing to do with
No,
Billy
I
Joel.
know. That's fine. And River of Dreams, his then wife Christy Brinkley, which they got divorced shortly after, she painted the cover.
For that, yes.
For that
I remember
album.
that. And then after that, actually right around that, I'm not sure if he had anything to do with the greatest hits. Obviously, he put out Hey Girl and some other song.
Yeah.
But he quit. He said, I'm not interested in making any more pop music.
He did one more album,
One more album
but
after
it was
this.
classical music.
Yes, so, and I noticed it's not on your chart.
No,
Don't even include it. But again,
Fantasies and
Yeah.
Delusions.
yes.
Delusions.
So Billy Joel would be, I know we've only done 3, but this is our first artist that actually had hits in the 70s. We didn't, Huey Lewis and Phil Collins both started in the 80s. Billy Joel has some in the 70s, so we'll see.
Well, Genesis was in the 70s.
Yeah,
and he
but
was
we're
the
doing him
drummer.
separately. We'll see if any of Billy Joel's songs from the 70s get on our top 10 list. Missing or
Same with the
ranking
90s.
80s music.
90s
Now,
songs.
all 3 of them. So Huey Lewis had the couple days off from the 90s.
Right.
Phil Collins had the Tarzan song from the 90s that we ranked. Billy Joel, out of all of the songs, so once he got to Stormfront and he did I Go to Extremes, that started the 90s, and then River of Dreams, obviously, it would be the 90s. River of Dreams actually is a pretty good half album. I'll give a half album, because then he gets into And So It Goes and Lullaby.
Oh
And
yeah.
horrible songs.
He wrote those probably for his kids.
Kids, yes. Okay, so let's get into our top 10 for Billy Joel. And again, we had 45 songs to choose from. So here's our top. And okay, so honorable mention. We already mentioned Modern Woman isn't going to make it, even though that's my top one. Piano Man's not going to make it. That's your top one. You chose Piano Man at number 1. I didn't rank it till number 31.
You're just tired of hearing it.
Tired of hearing it. Now, for Modern Woman, I ranked that as number 1. You ranked that at 27. So again, we're not on the same wavelength here. Okay, so getting ready, and then the other 2 songs that we both had in our top 10.
Just wait, try to read them in order too.
That's not her style. Thanks. That's not her style. I had in the top 10, and you ranked it dead last. Thanks.
I did not remember it.
And
I
then-
listened to it. I'm like, I don't remember this being on the radio.
And then, interestingly, your number 10 song comes from The Stranger. Now it's on our other whiteboard. It's Moving Out, which I don't even consider his best song on that album. I like Only the Good Die Young, even though that one's also overplayed.
Yeah, that might have been our first clue that he was an atheist too.
And you know what's funny?
Talking about the Catholic girls.
Yes, when you hear the actual title song, The Stranger,
Yeah.
does it not make you think of the theme song to the
Peanuts.
No,
Oh,
the
no?
Incredible Hulk with Bill
Oh
Bixby.
yeah, when he's walking. No,
Walking away
at
from
the
the
end when
city.
he's walking.
I don't know if that's the song he uses, but it
Yeah.
reminds me of it. And he walks into a town and he's a stranger. So,
Well, actually, they play that music when he's leaving.
Right.
At the end of the episode.
oh, that's true. Yes, but he's still a stranger. Okay, so Moving Out is your favorite on that album. It was your 10. I didn't rank it till the 20s, something or other. Okay, so and you're gonna find that most of these top 10s, we didn't choose 3 songs for any particular album. We had 2 for like 4 of them, and then singles on a couple. Interesting. Okay, so unlike Sports and what was the Phil Collins, No Jacket Required was our favorite for him. What's your?
I said Innocent Man.
Innocent Man.
I bought that one. So.
Yeah, and it's got a lot of hits. Have you noticed that most of the hits sound like they were songs from the '60s?
That was
Like, he
the
has
point. The whole point of
his
the album was
Style.
Yeah,
Okay, I didn't know that. But
yeah, that was the whole thing. Yeah, if you listen to the other ones, Chris Steele and Careless Talk to this time. Wikipedia says this time was released, and I'm like, I don't remember ever hearing that on the radio.
band, but I remember that one guy singing it for our band when we had our.
Well, we
Billy Joel concert.
played it in the band, and it's funny because the chorus is based on a Beethoven melody from one of his symphonies.
And our top 10. Are you ready? Comment below what your top Billy Joel song is. So, or if you even agree with our
Or
list.
you could do a top 10. It'd be fine.
Our top
What's
10.
your favorite album?
10. Number 10 comes from the greatest hits. And I mentioned the slow song of Night is Still Young. It's not that one. It's the other one imitating It's a Wonderful Life video. That's All You're Only Human. I ranked that as number 7. You actually didn't like it as much, but it way down at 19.
Yeah.
Um,
That song might actually, some people might know what the song is now because there's a show on Amazon Prime called The Boys, about the superheroes, and one of the main characters listens to You're Only Human.
Okay.
In like 3 or 4 episodes, he keeps watching that video.
Gotcha.
So people might be checking it out just because of that.
All right. Number 9. We mentioned this song already, which, again, this song plays. So Billy Joel has quite a few songs that play all the time without the other songs being played that I want them to play. My Life. I hear it all the time. I rank that number 15. You rank that as number 8.
Yeah, and I told you in the video last week. I told you in the video of My Life, Peter Cetera from Chicago is one of the background voices.
You did say that, yes. Uptown Girl comes in at number 8 from Innocent Man. That I ranked as 16. I actually put My Life ahead of that one. And then you ranked it as number 4. I do remember us playing that in the
Yeah,
Okay, next after that, number 6. No, 6, 7. No, 7. 7 is I Go to Extremes. Only here because I ranked it number 2. You ranked it down at number 18. Shake my head on that one. Number 6, Big Shot. We agree that they're ranking here. I have it at 10. You have it at 9. So that would be the first album that has 2. We have Big Shot and My Life coming from 52nd Street. First song from Stormfront, or no, second. Actually, I just said I Go to Extremes two songs ago. So number 5 is We Didn't Start the Fire. I ranked that as number 9. You got that as number 6. I believe that one came in at number 1 too. So his number 1 hits. I haven't mentioned the others. All 3 number 1 hits made our list. So that's.
I want to know which came first. We Didn't Start the Fire, or The End of the World from REM. Well, the song with lyrics on our list.
Now that you mentioned that, I want to tell you this. I looked it up. One More Night, we said couldn't have came first because it has him leaving the bar.
Oh, yeah.
That was his first hit off.
Oh my gosh, I was wrong.
Go figure. I thought it was the studio because it looks like it
Made sense.
Yeah. I don't know. All right, number 4. Our only song from Nylon Curtain would be Pressure. We mentioned that was the one we remember that starting off with. I have number 5. You have as number 7. So you're gonna think this should be our favorite album based on our rankings. So I have this at number 8. He has this at number 3. Coming from Glass Houses is You May Be Right. And we both mentioned, we watched a concert of his where he says, turn out the lights, and one of the technicians turns out the light. He's like, thank you! That'd be a pretty cool song to watch when they do that.
Yeah,
Like,
I've seen a concert where he's played that song before and they didn't turn the light out, so I'm like, or they only did it at one time.
Yeah, they don't want to be the follower. All right, number 2. Second song from An Innocent Man, and that would be Tell Her About It. This would be his second number 1 hit. This, even though he had good hits, this is the one that I like. I'm like, this is my number 3 song, your number 5 song. And this is the time I think I really started liking Billy Joel, and I didn't buy those cassettes until after An Innocent Man came out, based on that song. And he had Rodney Dangerfield in it. I did check on the comedian aspect. We've been mentioning Weird Al. He did do a parody of Billy Joel, and it was
I saw it too.
based off of Piano Man.
He did 2.
The Ode to the Superhero about Spider-Man
Right.
is Piano Man. What's the other one?
Oh, and hold on, I just.
We Didn't Start the Fire. Did he?
Wait, hold on. We're gonna edit this out because I got brother. You see this on.
It was based on what we just.
Oh, hold on. It was. Oh, I know what it was called. It was. It's Still Billy Joel to Me.
It's still.
Billy Joel to Me.
Really?
Yeah, he has a song called It's Still Billy Joel to Me.
I've listened to all Weird Al. I don't remember that song.
So it's based on obviously it's still rock and roll to me. So it's still Billy Joel.
Yeah.
So yeah, he did too.
And
Phil Collins, you mentioned that Weird Al might have done his polka stuff, and he did. He did Sussudio. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what's funny? Billy Joel has his album where it's based off of old stuff, and here we're talking about Weird Al. Weird Al actually had a theme song from a movie, and that would be Johnny Dangerously. It reminds me of a Billy Joel song because it's a comedy that looks like Billy Joel could have been in it, you know? The way he dressed from An Innocent Man.
Weird Al did another movie.
UHF.
He did he was in UHF. No, he did a third. He did the theme song for Leslie Nielsen's Spy Hard.
Oh yeah, you know what? Have you seen that?
I've seen the video on it, yeah.
Okay.
I've seen the movie, yeah.
I heard it was funny, but from a friend, but I've not watched it yet.
It's not Naked Gun funny. It's kind of like the parodies that were like 10 years ago, like Meet the Spartans. It was on that and all those.
We're gonna get off on a
were
tangent. You remember
so
the Leslie Nielsen movie that we just died up cracking and laughing about? when it had the Greatest American Hero sound?
I don't recall. Wrongfully Accused was also.
That's the
terrible.
one where he was like
That was
15, he was 15 feet away and he dove at the suspect, and they made the Superman hero or Greatest American Hero flight sound, and I remember both of us rolling around laughing about that.
Well, yeah, we were probably really young and that was stupid, so that's why they were funny. But watch them now.
No, that movie was 1993. We were in our 20s.
Yeah, I was wrong.
Okay, so where were we? Number 2, Tell Her About It. Number 1 song, second one from Glass Houses. So number 1 and number 3 all come from Glass Houses. It's still
You
rock
May
and
Be
roll.
Right.
You May Be Right was the number 3. This is it, still rock and roll. And I debated which one to put higher, but obviously with You May Be Right, I put down at 8. I'm like, number 1 through 10 could be interchangeable. He's got so many hits. Again,
Well, even when
our list may change
when
next
I was
week.
looking at those 2 songs, You May Be Right or Still Rock and Roll to Me, I'm like, those are interchangeable. Which one do I like better?
I know, they're so different from each other.
Yeah, but they're the same album, so they seem like
Now,
musical wise.
so he's got 13 studio albums. Have you listened to all of them?
No,
How many do you think you've heard?
over half.
Over half?
Yeah,
I think I've heard all, but maybe I have never heard Piano Man all the way through. I've not heard Cold Spring Harbor, and I've not heard his classical one, but I've heard everything else. And that's our Billy Joel list.
Nowadays, you don't even have to get the album. You just go on YouTube and you
That's
can
right.
listen to every album.
Listen to everything. I mean, I'm excluding live, obviously.
Yeah.
All right, so next week we've had Huey Lewis, Phil Collins, Billy Joel. Next week
Is it a drummer?
we're actually doing our first
Or is it a...
group. We're doing our
Oh,
first group. I mentioned doing it.
Yeah, no, I know. It's...
And so far we've done like pop rock and roll music. Next week will be our first hard rock. And I'll just leave you guys hanging.
Oh, you're not gonna see.
I'm not going to tell you who it is. Hard rock.
You know
Take a guess.
the very first video you said next week we're going to do, and then you said, and there's
Yes.
an explosion. You can't do the explosion if you don't say who it is.
I'm not. You can take a guess. So you're looking at us seeing who we've already done. Next week's just going to be unusual. You're like, with who you've done, there's no way this is the group. So, but it's a hard rock band.
Yeah, I like these groups that you put out there. It's like, yeah, look, until they got this singer, they weren't anything, and then they got a new singer, and bam.
And you mentioned that when he skyrocketed, is he was about to be dumped, and then he has this super hit CD, although it wasn't a CD back then.
Yeah, cassette.
Yeah.
So actually, that might have been.
His thing would be once he had all his hits, he got here, and then he dropped off the face of the
I
earth
was
because
saying
he
some
quit.
people may have had the 8-track. Is that what they were called?
In the 70s, yes.
Yeah, the 8-track.
In the middle of the song,
Our
suddenly-
sister had an 8-track.
Suddenly it goes, the middle of the song goes down, and it comes back up. I hated that.
Yeah, we had the Eagles,
Witchy Woman.
and Witchy Woman would halfway through would go down, and then you turn it, and then the rest of the song would play.
That's weird. I can't believe people were used to that back then. Oh well. All right, so that's Billy Joel, top song, and I'm considering ranking all of our top songs once we get a top 10 list from the 10 artists we do. So till then, we'll see you next week. I'm Joel.
I'm Chris.
Bye.
See you.